Welcome! My name is Piet-Hein Out and I'm a circus photographer and marketeer from the Netherlands. It is Sunday the 1st of July, 6:49 in the morning, and I am embarking on a journey that I wanted to make for quite some time now. I'm going to visit and take pictures of 5 former circus buildings in Scandinavia, and via this video you can join me on my travels. Today is going to be a busy day, as I will not only be flying, but also will be taking pictures of 3 circus buildings, covering a distance of just over 1,338 kilometers. So here we go, from Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, we are flying straight to Denmark's capital, Copenhagen. Why on earth am I going to travel over 3,500 kilometers in total to see a couple of former circus buildings? As my plane was leaving Amsterdam, it did cross my mind how crazy this must seem. But I love circus buildings because I know which great artists have performed in many of them, who has walked inside the same corridors or stood in the same auditorium. Circus buildings, for me, connect circus history with our present time. They are cultural heritage of circus days gone by and worth documenting. In 1884, Frits Petersen, a master carpenter, purchased the site on Jernebadegade next to Axeltorv to construct a circus building. The building was designed by the architect H.V. Brinkhoff, but the beautiful horse-racing frieze, which encircles the outside of the building, was created by the sculptor Frederik Hamelef. At that time, the circus building covered a much bigger site, mainly occupied by stable buildings which housed all the different circus animals, including elephants, giraffes and horses. Facing Axeltorv was the Artist Café, a cafe where guests could get refreshments during the intervals. The Artist Café still exists today. In spring 1914, a fire broke out in the circus building. Sadly, when the fire brigade arrived, it was too late. It took between 3 and 4 hours to extinguish the fire. As a result, only the foundations, external walls and portal remained. Fortunately, the building was empty during the fire, so there was only material damage. After just 1 year, in 1915, the circus building was rebuilt. This time it was the very first building in Denmark to be constructed with the use of reinforced concrete. The architect, Holger Jacobsen, was commissioned to undertake the task, in cooperation with the consultant engineer Kok Clausen. The external walls and frieze of the original building were preserved. In 1982, the city of Copenhagen began a comprehensive and thorough renovation of the circus building with the objective of restoring it to its original appearance. That led to the highlighting of the distinctive architecture of the circus, with the enormous dome, the arched corridors, the festive lobby, the colored seating and the special circus atmosphere. Meanwhile, everything was giving a highly successful extra touch with the unique colors selected by the architect Werner Panton. After the restoration, both the circus building itself and Werner Panton's color scheme were listed. This meant that the future of the circus building was secured as a significant part of the city's cultural life. Many famous circuses performed in the building, from Ernst Rens and his troupe to the Dutch circus Mekeny Strasburger during the Second World War. However, 2 names must be mentioned, those of Schumann and Benneweis. These circuses performed there for years on a row. Circus Benneweis continued to perform in the circus building until 1990. The German Circus Roncalli and also the Chinese State Circus gave performances after that. Nowadays, the Wallman Company, a well-known brand in Scandinavia, owns the building and hosts dinner shows there. As the Copenhagen skyline disappears in the distance, we are crossing the Öresund to Malmö, Sweden. In the early 1900s, circus buildings from stone were popping up in cities like Berlin, Paris and London. The city of Malmö had big ambitions, and the Hippodrome was to become a pleasure palace that put the city on the European map. The construction company Hippodrome was founded in 1898 to build a place where public circus performances could be shown. The Scandinavian climate made the use of a nice heated venue for the wintertime a necessity for circus owners. Driving force behind this company was industrialist Daniel Hjert Jr. and the builder Christian Lauritz Müller. Architect Theodor Wallin was hired. He travelled around Europe and studied circus premises. On November 1st, 1899, one of the world's most modern circus and theatre buildings was opened in Malmö. With many mechanical features allowing for flexible switching of the facility for various performances. Theatre, circus and a watering feature. Circus Tanti was chosen to give the celebrated first performance. The last circus performance was played on March 11, 1922. After that, Oskar Winger took over the premises and rebuilt them into a theatre. Operas, revues and comedy dominated the repertoire. In 1944, Oskar Winger was engaged as a lyric director at the newly formed Malmö City Theatre, and the Hippodrome was taken over by his former wife, Elsa Winger. In 1950, the last theatre performance was given in the building. The Elim Assembly took over the premises and turned the Hippodrome into a church. Malmö City bought the premises in 1992 from a bankrupt property company and rescued the old cultural building with a renovation. The refurbishment and renovation were designed by Manson and Dahlbeck Architectural Office. In 1994, the Hippodrome was reopened as a theatre for the Malmö Dramatiska Theater, which has been named Malmö Stadstheater since 2008. In more recent years, the Swedish Circus Circa brought back the circus tradition to the hip, although being it a modern circus one. After an hour and a half in sunny and warm Malmö, I made my way back to its central station and boarded my train to Linköping. I had booked a room in the very quaint Park Hotel 40 Towers, a small family-run hotel, but situated ideally in a wonderful old villa directly opposite the station. Two modest wooden buildings stood once at different locations in the city of Linköping. But it was decided to have a stone circus building built, as was done in Malmö and Stockholm. It opened in 1912, and I had read nowadays only the outside is still pretty much intact. I couldn't wait, so after my check-in I walked into the Swedish night to capture some evening shots of Linköping's former circus building. I had planned to come back the next morning to take some daytime shots and to see if it would be possible to enter the building and take some shots inside. The Circus of Linköping was opened September 27, 1912, with a gala performance of Circus Orlando, including 5 lions, Royal Bengal tigers and a dozen horses. At the ground floor, a circus cafe was opened, which still exists to this day. Amongst a varied range of entertainments that used the venue, a speech by prospective Prime Minister Per Albin Hansson in 1918 is quite significant to show the importance the circus building had for the community. In 1927 the focus was changed. The original interior was torn out and a new intermediate floor was built with a new auditorium, where various entertainment events and boxing gigs were organized. A car garage was housed on the ground floor, which meant that the building was also referred to as the Circus Garage. In 1959, the entertainment business ceased its activities and the building was taken over by Forlund's Car Company and became a car hall. After a lively debate in the early 1980s, new renovations were made to today's office space. In more recent years, the insurance company Volksam acquired the office space and restored a big part of the building. As I was allowed inside the building, I noticed they made sure to include circus elements in the interior, as well as a picture and history of the building at the entrance, thus embracing and honoring the circus history. Well done, Volksam! Just after 12 o'clock, I found myself back on the platform of Linköping's train station, and after one last look at my hotel, I travelled on to Stockholm. On the way, the train passed beautiful lakes and forests. The tenting circuses in Sweden often arrive in the night, build up, give one show, and then break up and travel to the new town again. One-day stands for most of the time are a common thing in Scandinavia. And as I saw the vast remoteness of the landscape passing by, I really understood why this is the only way in this region of Europe. After arriving in Stockholm, I didn't go to the circus building straight away. Instead, I found myself in the little suburb town Huddinge. Friends of mine will tell you there can only be one explanation why I would be there. The circus was in town. Circus Brasseljak is the Swedish national circus and also the oldest circus of the country. I first saw the circus in the year 2000 near Gothenburg and hadn't been back since. The owner and his parents are wonderful people, and that evening they offered a big crowd clean live entertainment for the entire family. I felt lucky to have found out they were in the region as I was passing there, and it was great catching up with them. The next morning I didn't stay in Stockholm but travelled further north towards the city of Gävle to visit the Furuviksparken, a mix of a zoo, amusement park and local history museum. The park was founded in 1900 by Oscar Jacobsen and officially opened by Count Olle Krönstedt. In 1938 the park was bought by Gösta Nygren, who managed it for 45 years. The nearby city of Gävle has sometimes been called the Swedish capital of the circus arts. There is no doubt that the activities in Furuvik Park contributed to preserving the city's circus traditions. Already in the summer of 1936, Furuvik Park's first season, the Circus Engelhard performed there as an attraction. In the development of the Furuvik Park, Gösta Nygren planned to build a large auditorium. It would not only be used for circus and theatre performances, but also as a venue for concerts, congresses, gymnastic shows, wrestling competitions, you name it. The plans were suddenly and swiftly realized in the autumn of 1940. The direct reason for the construction were the failed circus performances in Stockholm of the circus Jean Hook. In early August 1940, Jean Hook's musical circus show had its premiere in the Djurgård Circus in Stockholm. Jean Hook was born in Christiania, Oslo, in 1878, but was a Swedish citizen. In his youth, he worked as a rider at various circus companies in Sweden. Later, he travelled through Europe and ended up in France, where he started his own circus. In the summer of 1939, Jean Hook gave performances in the Copenhagen Circus building with his company. The Second World War made him use his Swedish citizenship to get his circus into this neutral country. However, the month in the Stockholm Circus building was a financial disaster for Hook. The Hook family and a couple of artists lived in a villa on Djurgården and stayed on after the shows had ended. The horses remained in the stables of the circus building. But Jean Hook was afraid that they might be taken away as a payment for unpaid debts. Furuvik park manager Gösta Nygren had seen Jean Hook's performances and became fond of him. When he was told about the difficult situation, he decided to hand a helping hand. He simply brought the Hook family as well as their horses to Furuvik. The Hook family was housed in a villa nearby the Furuvik park, and the horses were placed in the park's stables. In the meanwhile, Gösta Nygren decided to build a circus building. It was a quick decision without any formal board meetings. The building, which was also equipped with the stage, was built in the record time of just a few autumn weeks. The gala opening performance took place on Sunday the 17th of November 1940. Nadja Hook performed as an Indian rider. Sasha Hook blasted into the ring on horseback, whilst Jean Hook himself presented his Liberty Act as well as a high school act. Gilbert Hook presented a Roman riding act. The Hook family would also play in the building in 1941, but left after that year. The circus shows that were given after would be rehearsed and trained with local children. But during the war, many circus artists would come and stay in the Furuvik park. The animal trainer Franz Adamski came there winter 1943-1944 with 3 brown bears and 4 elephants belonging to the German circus of Paula Busch. Jean Hook's son Gilbert, who performed when the theatre circus was inaugurated, returned with Paula Busch's tiger group. The trainer Sobot, who worked with trained pigs, came for a while to stay in the park with his animals in anticipation of a new engagement. In the theatre circus, the trainers exercised their animals and practiced new tricks. The building was used for many more other things than just circus. It was also used as an exhibition hall. There were cat shows, exhibitions of old-timers. During a few summers in the late 1970s, the Natural History Museum organized exhibits such as Wetlands and Wanted in Our Time. Artists such as the world-famous dancer and singer Josephine Baker and also the singer Mel Tormé used the circus building as a rehearsal hall prior to their appearances at Furuvik Park's grand stage. During a couple of winters in the late 1970s, Carl Axel Svensson had presented a winter circus in some major sport halls in Sweden and had had some success with this. Hence, on June 23, 1982, the Svensson Theatre Circus premiered in the Furuvik Circus building. Carl Axel Svensson and his wife Anna Greta were both ex-Furuvik children. They had their artistic education there before leaving Furuvik in the late 1940s to travel around the world during a successful career with a pas de deux on horseback. In 1983, there was a circus summer organized in Gävle with exhibitions, but the main event was the arrival of a troupe of the Soviet State Circus to perform in Furuvik. The show premiered on the 16th of July and was planned to close 3 weeks later. However, an additional week was added because all the shows were sold out. After the last show on August the 14th, more than 20,000 spectators had seen the circus. On the Midsummer Day 1984, the French National Circus Alexis Grus premiered in the Furuvik building. Despite the quality of the show and the success of the Soviets a year before, the circus didn't draw a large crowd and it wasn't a financial success. Before the 1985 season, the circus building was being restored. It was painting about and equipped with a new entrance which was ready on the midsummer day because the Soviets were back with a brand new show and they triumphed again. Hence, yet another brand new Soviet show of top quality would be back in the summer of 1986 as well. In the summer of 1987, a group of North Korean acrobats came to Furuvik with 4 acts. These were top performances presented by a small artist group. Particularly the closing number was top-notch. 2 years earlier, the act with 5 acrobats in sailor costumes on 2 Chinese poles had received the prestigious Golden Clown at the Monte Carlo Circus Festival. 1988 became the last summer with a professional circus in the Furuvik building. The Swedish circus Brazil Jack had the honor of giving these performances. The show was created especially for Furuvik, and Diana Rodin showed off her excellent dressage number with horses and elephants. After that, the Children's Circus of Furuvik would be playing the building. Many professional artists would have started their career in the ring of the Furuvik building. On the night to Sunday, March 27th, 1994, the circus building in Furuvik was completely destroyed by fire during a renovation. Luckily, the park management decided to rebuild it. From Furuvik, I travelled back to Stockholm to see the circus in the Djurgården, where Jean Hook had suffered his great financial loss. Nowadays, the Stockholm Circus building is the largest private theatre in the Nordic countries. It was opened on May 25, 1892, to accommodate the great circuses of the past. Today, the building seats 1,650 guests, and in addition to theatre, concerts and shows, congresses and fairs are organized there. The circus building was listed as a monument in 1983. In the autumn of 2015, an extra stage, the Skandia-scenen, was added to the old building. Although it is a big contrast, the architect has managed to ensure the original structure is not overshadowed or badly altered. The circus was designed by the architect and builder Ernst Hägglund. The colourful architecture of the red tiled roof and the yellow walls is very regal. Dominating feature is the auditorium's dome with lantern. The auditorium was built as an M5 theatre with about 2,000 seats. The glazed carpeted porch in front of the building was originally open and led to a Swiss house that had direct access to the auditorium. The sculpture with the horses was made by Carl Johan Divermann. In the years 1931-32, the circus was converted into a theatre after drawings by the architect Thorsten Stubelius. A regular stage was added and the spectator seats were rearranged to offer better views. But the circus would still come from time to time. After use as a television studio, the circus became a theatre again. In 1997, a rebuilding was made for a more flexible stage and auditorium solution with new artist dressing rooms and a new entrance building. One of the last circus events in the building was a televised clowns gala starring many of the greatest clowns of that time. Charlie Rivel, Joe Jackson Jr., George Carl, the Chickies, the Rastellis, Pompov and Teddy, Pio Nock, Walter Galetti, and even the comical daredevil Fatini. It was magical to be allowed inside the building and to be able to stand on the spot where they once performed. Greetings from Stockholm and see you next time. Bye bye.